Hello everyone, we are in our last few days of Vlaugust, which has just flown by. And of all the questions that I've been asked this last month, the one that keeps coming up is, how did I create my intro? Now before I jump into the tutorial, I just wanted to give a little insight on intros in general. To me, an intro, if you even have one at all, should be short, like maybe 5-10 seconds in length. I've seen some intros that just seem to drag on forever. And even with the big budget shows on Netflix, they give you the option to skip the intro completely. So just keep that in mind. I wanted to differentiate this whole batch of videos from the rest of my content, so I placed an intro on all the Vlaugust videos that I uploaded. For this tutorial, I used a combination of After Effects, Photoshop, and Premiere. I'll be going over the concepts fairly quickly, so if you're an absolute beginner with any of these pieces of software, some of this might go over your head, but I believe in you. I do plan on releasing some beginner level tutorials in the future, so be sure to stay tuned for those. All right, that being said, let's jump in. So before I even open up Photoshop or After Effects, the first thing I want to do is plan out a rough idea of what I want the intro to be. I'll open up the finished version here to give you a small walkthrough of what my thought process was. I knew I wanted the whole thing to have a very paper-esque look, and I wanted the elements to look like they were cut out and placed onto a crumpled piece of paper. I had the idea for 3 segments of the intro, starting with the emanating face, followed by the LaCroix can hug, and ending on the big Felix face staring at the word Vlaugust. So with the idea of those elements in place, I took a series of photos of me making different expressions and a full body shot of me hugging an imaginary can. In Photoshop, I cut all of these photos out using the lasso tool. To achieve the cutout look, I did a couple of things. For the actual face, I just used the cutout filter that's built directly into Photoshop and applied it to the different facial expressions. For the paper outline, I simply duplicated each face layer, set it below, scaled it up, and set it to white. I then added a drop shadow to give it the impression that it was a piece of paper lying on a surface. I repeated this step multiple times for each expression that I made. For the LaCroix can section, I did the same thing. I cut each layer out with a lasso tool and created the paper outline for the picture of me hugging the can. Once these assets were created, I saved, closed Photoshop, and fired up After Effects. Now for those of you who aren't familiar with After Effects, I like to tell people that After Effects is to video as Photoshop is to photography. A lot of the manipulation that can be done within photography can be done within video using After Effects. For the emanating face segment, I knew that I wanted various colors to grow from behind my head with each expression that I made. And to emphasize each expression, I changed the color every time I made a new face. To achieve this look, I simply duplicated the facial expression layer, placed it behind the original, and keyframed the scale property. This gave it the illusion that the face was growing. To get the different colors of each growing face, I applied a color balance effect and just played with the dial until I got a color that was different enough from the last growing face. When a new facial expression appeared, I just repeated the effect with that expression until I was happy with the number of faces that had appeared. The second segment of the can hug was done by keyframing the position of each element. I wanted the can to look like it bounced just a little bit when it hit the ground, so I used keyframes to create the effect. With After Effects, the blue triangle denotes where you are in time in relation to your video timestamp. If you place a keyframe anywhere along that timeline, then scrub forward or backwards and move that element, After Effects will automatically create the animation in between those points for you. And for the third and final segment, I keyframed the giant Felix face coming up from the bottom of the screen, as well as the cans falling from the top. After exporting the whole project, I closed After Effects and jumped into Premiere and imported the whole intro MOV file. There's a really great effect built into Premiere CC called VR Chromatic Aberrations. This effect gives your footage a sort of glitchy, skewed look, which I really enjoy. The cool thing with it is that you can keyframe the positions both horizontally and vertically, as well as the individual colors. I dropped keyframes along the timeline and just modified the points of interest as well as the individual colors. So there it is. That's how I created my intro from scratch. If you have any questions or any issues, leave them in the comments below and I'll do my best to get to them, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.